call the Wednesday, April 20th MVCC board meeting to order. If you could all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First thing I'd like to do is welcome from the City of West Carrollton, Keith Tilton, our newest board member. Keith, welcome.
Thank you very much. Look forward to serving with you all and learning what this organization's all about and what we can do to help everyone.
Excellent. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Okay, and if we could do a roll call right now, we could start here with Stephen.
Present. Steve Harding, City of Springboro.
Joanne Rouse, City of Centerville.
Michelle Collins, City of Williamsburg.
Greg Thompson, City of Miamisburg.
Keith Tilton, City of West Carrollton.
Lisa Duvall, City of Kettering.
George Bayless, Kettering.
Bob Scott, City of Kettering.
Don Burchett, City of Moraine.
Jay Weiskircher, staff.
I'm Rob Stevens, City of Oakwood. Thank you, everyone. If we could get a approval of the February 16th, 2022 board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce TCU Director Bob Green. He has a presentation for us. Bob?
Well, thank you for having me out today. The reason I'm here is that we are going to, we wanted to go over last year's, a review of 2021 and with what the TCSU, the departments that are involved, as well as all the individuals, what we accomplished. And we had a very good year last year. In 2021, some of the highlights, we opened 62 cases for the year. The bigger cases that we dealt with was a counterfeit merchandise case in the city of Kettering. And this was a shop that was at the corner of Whip and Bigger in the shopping plaza back there. And he was selling regular merchandise, but he was also selling counterfeit bags, purses that you would get from New York or some other bigger city. He was having them shipped in. The city of Kettering received a complaint on this. They thought that their Prada bag that they paid $80 for didn't look like it was real. And they thought there was something wrong with it, which I don't know if there is a Prada bag that goes for $80. So we sent in some undercovers, and they made the purchases. And when we finally settled on everything we had to do, we ended up doing search warrants in the city of Huber Heights at his residence, the city of Centerville, as well as where he had another residence, and the city of Kettering as well. The shop was immediately closed down for business after his detainment and interviews, and has since left the city of Kettering. We are still working with the Montgomery County prosecutors on how we're going to handle the case, obviously like a plea negotiation, which involves, there was quite a bit of money that we recovered, which was over about $117,000 in cash. So we have some negotiations going on with the prosecutor of what he's going to plead to, and a civil settlement as well. Another case was Timothy Jefferson. We'll talk about that, as well as the NICB cases and our equipment workups. Let me check something. With Timothy Jefferson, he is a high-level drug dealer. We are going federal with him. We have recovered, when we conducted the search warrants on his property, we found 3 different locations again. one in the city of Dayton, just inside the city of Dayton. He was supplying a lot of the city of Kettering's drugs. He just inside the city of Dayton on Woodman. We also conducted search warrants in Harrison Township and Butler Township. It was a huge undertaking. With the narcotics that we recovered fentanyl and analog fentanyl, which is both, the analog fentanyl is even more deadly than regular fentanyl, believe it or not. We recovered about 3 pounds of meth and a kilo of cocaine, along with a couple firearms. So he is actually, Mr. Jefferson is going federally, which he probably is going to find out next week sometime when the federal prosecutor calls his attorney. He's going to be a little bit surprised because he didn't know that we could do that. We also listened to his jail phone calls, and he thought he had an easy case, and we messed things up. For the NICB is the National Insurance Crime Bureau, and we have an agreement with them. They provide us with 2 unmarked vehicles, and at no cost. We just have to insure them and maintain them. And in response for that, we recover stolen vehicles. What you don't know is at night there are people that are assigned that drive around with license plate readers, and when they get a hit, the hit is sent to our phones and we react to it. We go out, we find the vehicle, recover the vehicle. And last year in all, we recovered probably 8 vehicles for NICB, along with guns and other stolen property. So with the NICB is very happy with our relationship and what we're doing for them, so they will continue to provide us with those vehicles, which is extremely helpful. Some of the equipment updates. Last year we purchased a Faro, which is a scanning device for the inside of crime scenes. This has been very useful this year so far because we've responded to both homicides in Germantown and in the city of Miamisburg. The Faro was used. This helps us with our court cases, and we've also used it for other serious crashes that have occurred within the 8 communities that we serve. We purchased some laptop computers, one of which is in our evidence trailer that is fully functional. The evidence trailer will be out at the Touch a Truck coming up here at MVCC on the 4th, and people will be able to see that. We can respond to these incidents and fully equipped evidence to help them to investigate and get all the pertinent information that they need for a conviction in the case. And we bought some more surveillance devices, undercover devices. We don't like to talk about them, but they're devices that our undercovers use when they go to purchase drugs, and they're just they might be a coffee cup or something like that. We have purchased some updated devices, as well as this year we also purchased some GPS devices for if we're using them for drug dealers or whatever, once we get a court order and we're allowed to use it. This year, again, we were able to serve all our communities, which is always a goal for us. The city of Centerville conducted a search warrant which involved the counterfeit merchandise. We conducted some buy-walk drug deals. The subject lived in Centerville at the beginning of the investigation, moved to the city of Kettering, and we conducted a search warrant in the city of Kettering. That case is still pending. We assisted with a search warrant involving a homicide suspect that actually the homicide occurred in Kentucky. And to my knowledge, she's still she's been extradited to Kentucky and is awaiting trial. We assisted with the recovery of a missing subject from the city of Centerville. This was the young man that unfortunately went and committed suicide, and we were able to locate their body with the assistance of EquiSearch in a timely manner. Germantown, we assisted with a stolen trailer ring by helping them with traffic stops. There was a CERT team, that is a conglomeration of all the cities, investigators, evidence crews, and accident reconstructionists. They helped on a fatal crash for Germantown. We assisted with search warrants on a crime against a child, and we also assisted the chief with an internal investigation. In the city of Kettering, we conducted undercover operations and search warrants on the local business. That was the counterfeit business. CERT team assisted with surveillance on some subjects that were stealing from mailboxes. They needed more manpower. We supplemented that manpower. We responded to the BP homicide that was in Kettering. Person was taken into custody immediately by Kettering, but we assisted them with their investigation. CERT team responded to waste management. They found skeletal remains near the waste management company down near Moraine, and we were sent down there to help try to locate more skeletal remains. If I never have to go back there again, it'll be too soon. And we were inside there for many hours searching through everyone's trash. It turned out that the remains that they found fell off of a truck, and it belonged to a doctor who had died. And it was a legitimate skeleton, a skull. However, it was used for teaching. He taught out at Wright State or something. So we spent most of the day in there looking for the rest of the remains, when in fact they weren't real remains. We also assisted with several drug search warrants, as well as some buy walks in the city of Kettering with their Vice drug unit. Miamisburg, we were proactive patrols in their hotels, and we made 10 different arrests out of their hotels in which they're having problems with. We also assisted and arrested the subjects involved in some trailer thefts from their city. And the crisis intervention team, which is another branch of our CERT team, responded to conduct a debrief. The crisis intervention team has pretty much blown up. It's doing an outstanding job, and we're getting calls sometimes outside of our cities to help officers after traumatic incidents that they're involved in. And these are trained officers that they can talk to. It's been a very good program. City of Moraine, we conducted some buy-walk drug deals and later arrested the dealer at a Red Roof Motel. Also, they had trailer theft cases, and they were tied in with the Miamisburg cases, so those people got arrested. And then we also assisted on a near-fatal crash in the city of Moraine. Oakwood, we were called out once for a serious motorcycle accident. Fortunately, the individual did survive, but we were out there because due to the injury, we didn't know if he would survive, and we took everything. Interesting thing about that is Oakwood received a letter of appreciation from that individual on the motorcycle, and it was forwarded to our staff as well about how much he appreciated all the work that we did for him. City of Springboro, we were called out on a self-inflicted gunshot wound to a juvenile. We also assisted in 2 different serious accident call-outs that they had involving cars, and conducted proactive hotel details resulting in arrest of 1 subject. And finally, in the city of West Carrollton, the trailer thefts, once again related to Miamisburg and Moraine. We assisted with those and assisted with the theft of vehicles at an auto repair shop. Some of the training opportunities in 2021, we were able to have more training opportunities unlike 2020 because most of our training is in person and hands-on. We had OVI refresher training for all the members that were interested in TCSU. Pharaoh training, we have specific people trained in the Pharaoh so they can be called out. Next year, we're adding more people and continuing to do refreshers. So we don't get to use it a lot. We got to keep them on top of it. We had bomb and explosive training for 8 hours at the Centerville Police Department. Conducted 2 interview and interrogation classes. Each class was 16 hours. And then, once again, West Carrollton Deputy Chief Westling conducted a Crash 1 investigation class, which is 40 hours for the people at the members of our conglomeration. Some of our enforcement statistics real quick. If you look at the graph, our convictions were down because they end up holding over, so that tends to fluctuate. Same with our criminal investigations when you compare it to 2020. Search warrants, we were up some. Calls for our cell phone examinations, those are just taking off. The information that we receive or are able to obtain from a cell phone are helping our cases, and everyone has a cell phone now. Polygraph examinations are up. Our training classes were up because we weren't able to have any in 2020. And then our alerts. We send alerts out, any type of intel of any type of crime that's occurring, possible suspects, can someone ID this individual? So our alerts were up as well to 473. Yes.
Before you move on, we have 3 new board members. Could you tell them in terms of the polygraphs what you do for all the area departments when it comes to hiring of officers
Sure.
and staff people and
Okay,
what have you?
Currently we have 3 polygraphists, and what the polygraphs do is when a department wants to hire a new individual, they give them a polygraph, and it's called a pre-employment, and we ask a series of questions. Now the minimum polygraph takes about 2.5 hours, so it's very time I'm sorry, consuming, thank you. It's very time consuming, and we do that for all 8 agencies. Now, once a chief decides to give an individual a conditional offer, then they have a second polygraph, and it's called a post-exam. And that one's about an hour and a half long. It's not as long, but there are questions that we can't ask at first that once they have a conditional offer, we can ask later, and that's what the American Disabilities Act comes, where we want to abide by the American Disabilities Act. So we are obviously going through a lot of hiring at all the cities, and when we do that hiring, we pass people on to the next stage, or we wash them out at the polygraph stage. And then on top of that, the polygraphists do all criminal tests. So if a detective from Germantown wants a polygraph on a criminal case, they'll put the request in through TCSU, and we'll assign it to one of the 3 polygraphists. Criminal polygraphs take a lot longer than part-time or pre-employment polygraphs. So it's a very time-consuming event. The investigations, the team call-outs, we had 6 for the investigators. We had 2 for just evidence call-out. Our crisis intervention team got called out 5 times, and the accident investigation team got called out 5 times as well. And that's just our special investigative response team call-outs. The departments are getting we have moved TCSU to really focus on our cities, and now the departments are reaching out more and using us more, and we really enjoy that. As of 21, you can see some of the disbursements of currency in which we accumulated on different cases. These are cases like the first one, 3821. This is a case that dated back to 2018. So this takes a long process in order to get this settlement. The next one, that was a case that came out in 2016. So we're getting money back. We also have when a person has to pay restitution and is in prison, we get a check every now and then of about $25 from an individual who is doing time in prison, and once he gets so much money in, the county cuts us a check, which is, we didn't know that even happened, but we have a guy that's going to be in prison and writing us checks for the next 15 years. So this is just some of the money that we were able to get a hold of last year. These are some of the high-profile convictions that we had. Jessica Boomershine was one of 2 people that in the city of Miamisburg assaulted and left for dead an individual, an elderly man. She was in the news because once she got back from court, she tried to escape from the county jail by getting up into the ductwork or the ceiling, and that was in the news. Taewon Lam was an individual that we were buying drugs from directly. We weren't real happy with the end result of that case, but there was some communication breakdown with different individuals that brought in that case. He did about 3 years in the county jail waiting for his trial. Mr. Singh is we assisted with the USDA on a food stamp case. He was purchasing food stamps from individuals, from an individual to supply his markets that he has. Nicholas Cook was he grew marijuana in the basement of his house. He received 5 years probation, and also there should be some type of monetary kickback in a year or so to come. And Eric Mayberry was convicted of drug trafficking and the illegal use of SNAP cards. He was out of the city of Moraine, and it was a person that we were conducting undercover buys with. For next year, some of the things we want to do is increase the training for all the cities. This training's free. We have a wealth of experience throughout the 8 cities of people that can train in different specialties. And we want to increase that training for our agencies and use those people for their expertise. We're going to increase the personnel that are trained on our FARO. We want to provide more assistance with the CERT team personnel. Provide outside agencies with low-cost, convenient training. If our numbers are low within the 8 cities, we want to extend it out to other agencies, and they can pay it at lower cost. Good training at a lower cost, which will be some revenue for us. Increase and maintain the relationship with the surrounding agencies. We have partnered up to within the past year with the task force out of Greene County. It's called ACE Task Force. We've done work with them. We've partnered up with Warren County Task Force, Drug Task Force, and we are currently working a case with them. We've partnered up with the ATF, the DEA, and the FBI, and these partnerships have really helped our communities. Provide outside security cameras for the command vehicle. It's something that the command vehicle, one of the things that we utilize that is for the hostage negotiation team, and we wanted some outside security cameras for them so that they can see they're stuck inside that van when this incident's occurring, and we want them to be able to see what's going on outside too, because sometimes in the areas that we're going aren't the best. And then we want to acquire a truck or a van large enough to pull our evidence trailer. Currently, we are using, we have access to a truck in Oakwood, a truck in Centerville, and a truck in Kettering that can pull this 24-foot trailer. Mr. Tilton has a 2500 Chevy heavy duty. Yeah, that would work perfect if you're done with that. The new guy, you got to sacrifice something. But yeah, we're looking for a truck big enough to. Yeah, but it's we just need a truck that we need to pull. Hopefully, the NICB people, they are looking for us to see if they can get a vehicle for us at no cost, and that would be great. But we do need something dedicated to pull that because we don't have anything on site. So we have to go to a city, pull that truck, and then go and hook up. It's not imperative. It would be useful is what would help out. So that's basically what we did in 2021. 2022 has already started out. We are very busy. We have a lot going on, and I'll probably have a big report for you next year too. Any questions? Yes?
I've got one. If you could go back to the comment you made when you first got started about the
license plate reader.
Yes.
Elaborate on that a little bit, and what is that? Because the first thing I think of is the community driver, they're going to do the flock cameras.
Right, which is very helpful. But the reason the flock cameras, the difference between the license plate reader and the flock cameras, the flock camera catches everything and the officers on the street get immediate response. And the officers, detectives, then can also research and see if the vehicle that we're looking for has ever been hit by flock and what time and everything. The license plate readers, these are private people or people that are paid through the insurance companies, and they have them on the back of their cars, just like the cruisers. Some of the cruisers still have license plate readers. And these people are hired just to drive just drive around the city, and once they get a hit, they then send it to NICB, who then sends it to us. So the license plate reader is a little bit different. The flock is more useful. Now, because that gives you the hit, that vehicle's stolen. Flock just lets you know, it's stolen and it's gone through the area, but you have to be there right away and everything. And flock is just, it's always running and it's always good. It helps solve a lot of crime. So the license plate reader is more mobile.
And it's more random.
More random because they're driving around, yes.
Would that flock make that effort semi-obsolete?
Not necessarily. Well, if they're not driving through your city, a lot of these independent drivers that have the LPRs on the back of their cars, they're going back into apartment complex. Flock's usually placed in portions of the city that are high travel.
Correct.
So they're kind of going in through the seams and searching.
Okay. And these people that do this are volunteers?
No, I believe they're probably paid for insurance by insurance companies.
Okay.
You know, and are mostly, I would say mostly insurance companies, some maybe tow companies do it too.
Okay. I wasn't even aware that existed.
Yeah. Yes.
The Sparrow camera, or scanners, what exactly, what do they do? What are they scanning for and picking up and all that?
Well, that's a great question. Okay, let's say that there was a homicide in this room. And what we're going to do is, depending on where the location, the body, the evidence, is we're going to take the Faro, we're going to put it on the tripod, and it's going to take 360 degrees photos of this room. Everything. And it's going to have the placement of the body, it's going to have everything. And then once we put it in a couple different spaces and we've got all our readings, we take that information back from the Faro and we load it into a computer. And we can do a three-dimensional sketch of this room. And for the prosecution, for our case, incredibly beneficial. It quickens. Before, what we had to do was measure everything. So the time that we've saved, and we didn't draw three-dimensional pictures, and with what the Faro does, is just fantastic. It's great investment. It just, your time on crime scenes have been shortened tremendously.
Bob, I know we all know cars are stolen all the time. I was a little taken by the amount of trailers. Is that a normal situation year after year? Or is this, I know you said 3 of them were connected, 3 cities, but is this a common thing? I know there's less trailers than vehicles, but is this a common thing that trailers are taken on a regular basis and we have theft rings in this area of trailers?
You have spurts of trailers being stolen. It just goes in spurts. I would say the most thing that, as far as theft, when vehicles are related right now, are catalytic converters.
Yeah.
And we are working with NICB to get a bait car with a catalytic converter and put a GPS on it to see if we can get it. It has to get hit. You know, we've got to put it somewhere where it's likely to get cut off, and then once it gets cut off, we've got to go after them. Now, the only thing we can charge them with is receiving stolen property. We can't charge them with removing it. We can only charge them with receiving stolen property. But the trailers, it just kind of comes and goes. The people that we were able to arrest, it slowed down tremendously in our communities after they got arrested.
Excellent.
Well, the other quick comment on a trailer, correct if I'm wrong, in the state of Ohio, there's no VIN number on a trailer, and if they're stolen, it's a lot harder to prove origin.
For most trailers, like maybe the trailer you buy at Lowe's or Home Depot, probably no VIN. That's correct. But if you're getting a big heavy-duty enclosed trailer or whatever, it should have a VIN, or a dump trailer should have a VIN. But they get scratched off is what they're doing.
Right.
Do you find most of those head towards Kentucky since they don't have to have license on most of that?
No, they're selling them to companies that, construction companies. The way we latched onto this particular group was a guy bought a trailer and says, I don't like this, and he called us and we looked at it. It did have a VIN because it was a dump trailer. We were able to determine it was stolen, and we then through him found these other guys. This individual acted as a confidential source for us and made a phone call to set up a deal.
Mine was found in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Because it was a ring in Springboro at that time. So.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Bob, again, we've got 3 new board members. Could you maybe share with everyone what you did in a previous life, and then how you staff the task force?
Okay. In a previous life, I'm retired from the city of Kettering. I was a police officer, a detective, evidence technician. I got promoted to sergeant, and this position of TCSU opened up as the director, and I put in for this and retired from Kettering. Before that, I was a deputy sheriff in Montgomery County for about 6 years before moving to Kettering. As far as our staffing, we have 3 individuals, 3 investigators that are assigned to us. One's always from the city of Kettering, another one's always from the city of Centerville, and then we have a rotation that goes around, and it lasts 2 years, maybe 3 years. It's up to the chief. What we've done different is with this CERT team is we have access now to all the investigators at all these cities. And this is what the chiefs of each department want, because we're able to get them more experience by assisting us with surveillance or buy walk drugs, where we buy drugs and we let the money walk. So I have 3 people that are assigned to me constantly. They will rotate in and rotate out, and we I don't know what else. Did I cover it? Okay. Okay. We do things and we don't talk about them.
Right. I didn't know how much you could share with me.
Yeah, we do undercover buys. We try to generate a lot of our own drug information, or if a city has an individual that can work a confidential source that can work a drug dealer, but they don't have the resources or the knowledge, maybe the investigators, or the time to handle that case. What we do is we include that individual, but we take it and we work it through TCSU. And all the confiscations and everything's done through us. So that individual from that department who would turn them over to us, they get the experience of it, and we work the case for them because we have the experience. And then the great thing is when when other agencies need manpower, we can supplement to every city from our cities, from our people. We also will do, if hopefully it doesn't happen again, if there's an officer-involved shooting, and let's say the officer-involved shooting occurred in Miamisburg, we would come in and we would use all our personnel from every city except Miamisburg, and we would do the investigation. And that way, Miamisburg doesn't have to worry about it. It's being investigated by outside agencies, and then we would handle everything through the prosecutor and everything.
Bob, don't you have other agencies that work out of your office too, that help out with different things?
Yes, we are fortunate enough to have a USDA agent. And I don't know if you know this, but the USDA has special agents throughout the country, And they specialize in dog fighting, but more importantly for us, Mark specializes in dog fighting and cockfighting, but more importantly for us, the EBT cards, and those are the food stamp cards. There's a lot of fraud that goes on, and food stamp cards are used to buy drugs. So he can give us those cards, and they have money on them, but they're marked and everything, and then we can go purchase drugs through that. We also have an individual from the U.S. Army, Army Counterintelligence, Army Drug Intelligence, and he does all our intelligence. He is a whiz with computers. He enters all our information in a databases that we need entered in for us, and that's at no cost for us. That's from the Army.
Now, are your services billable to these cities that use it, or is it just because we're involved with it, your services are?
We're free. We're part of you.
Okay.
Yes, we don't bill. You use us and we use you. It's kind of, if you look at it, we have 8 cities, and what we've done is we've taken a unit and we've compiled a little bit of a metro investigative section where we've combined all the 8 cities that we can use to investigate serious crimes. Back when I was a detective in Kettering, TCSU was used for the Erica Baker case. I was the investigator on the Erica Baker case. So we used all their staff, and they were extremely helpful with us. So yeah, it doesn't cost you anything. Well, yeah.
There's always cost, Bob. There's always
yeah,
cost.
there is always
some sort of
Sheila's back there. No. It's billable, but it's taken care of. Anything else?
No? All right.
Well, thank you very much, and we will see you next year and hopefully have some more interesting cases for you.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Very thorough and educational. Much appreciated. Thanks for spending your time with us today. Next, we'll move on to some legislation. Just one piece of legislation today. Resolution 2022-005, authorizing the executive director to contract with various providers for the purchase of MVCC's multi-peril insurance coverages. Jay, is there anything you need to say to this?
Mr. Chairman, this is the annual resolution that we pass for our multi-peril insurance package. That includes our property, our general liability, our auto, our multimedia. We have a drone, which requires special coverage, directors and officers coverage, as well as an umbrella policy. We use a local Centerville broker who go out and shops the market for us and comes back to us with quotes. Last year, our premium was a little bit over $24,000. This year, our premium will be approximately $28,000. While we never like to see our premium costs go up, the good news is that the reason our premium costs are going up is because our revenue was up as well. So that's a good thing. So we are renewing with the 4 companies we currently have our insurance with. That includes State Auto, Access Global, and Great American. And this particular package renews in the middle of May. So I'll be happy to answer any of the questions you might have.
I move approval of resolution 2022-005.
A second.
Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Old business. Jay, Phase 2 fiber project update.
Been talking about this for a while, but the last piece of boring associated with the Phase 2 work was at the intersection of Dorothy Lane and Far Hills Avenue. And as you can imagine, in that very busy intersection, there's a lot of things underground there. So that was not just as easy as just boring straight through there. There was a lot of things that they had to look out for. But that work was finally done about 10 days ago. So that's the final boring of Phase 2. So that's good news. Over the next several weeks, and hopefully by the end of the month, they'll be making the splices to the original fiber that was installed about 2 years ago, and then making the necessary connections. And when all that happens, then Phase 2 will be completed. And again, hopefully that'll take place by the end of April.
Excellent. Any questions on that? All right, the Miami Township Fiber Link.
I mentioned this probably last year, that Miami Township wanted to connect to the MVCC ring. So what they did, they fully funded about a $350,000 project that entailed about 4 miles of fiber that connected all of their government facilities to the MVCC ring. That project was started in the fall and was completed about 2 weeks ago. That fiber is now lit. A couple of things that I want to point out. Now that they are part of the MVCC ring, they get the same benefits and services that we all receive from being on the ring. And also, as of the beginning of this year, the City of Kettering is now dispatching for the Miami Township Police Department. So as a result of that connection, that gives them a redundant route. So in terms of if there would be any problems where lines might be cut or whatever, they'll always be in service. So that was a big deal for Miami Township to get that redundancy in place. The other good news about this fiber build is the fact that although MVCC didn't have any money in the build, we did receive 24 strands of fiber and also 4 miles of conduit as a result of that. And so that's infrastructure that we'll have available now that we can sell or lease at some point in time. So that's good news for us, good news for Miami Township, and as I say, also good news for Kettering, since they're now dispatching the Miami Township Police Department. So I just wanted to give you an update on that. We got some good news a couple of weeks ago. For those of you who were on the board last year, you recall that we've ordered an armored rescue vehicle for the Kettering TCSU SWAT team. You passed a resolution last July. We ordered the Bearcat in August, and at the time it was ordered, we were told it was going to be a 12 to 14 or 15 month delivery cycle. However, we got a call a couple of weeks ago, and there's a very large conference, in fact the largest conference in the country. It's the Ohio Tactical Officers Conference. This year it's being held in Sandusky, and for marketing purposes, we ordered our armored vehicle from a company in Massachusetts, but they said we would move production of your vehicle to the front of the line if you would allow us to show it at the conference in June in Sandusky. And the only thing that we would ask you to do is pay for half of the costs of getting it to Sandusky. And fortunately, the cost to do that for us was only about $1,900 out of a total cost of $3,800. So for a $1,900 investment, we're going to get our armored rescue vehicle about 4 months before we had planned on. So hopefully that'll happen in June. And like I said, that was just a little bit of good news that I wanted to share with you.
That's more good news, Jay. You're on a roll here.
I know. I've got some more.
You want
down,
to keep it up?
A little further down here.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll.
Set this up for something else.
No. I got confidence. We're going to be all positive today. Next up, Sheila Tracy with a financial report. Sheila, do you have something you want to share with us?
Good news?
Yeah, it's got to be good news.
Well, I don't know. I can't beat what everybody else has done here this evening.
Give it the old college try. Just yeah.
We're pretty much on target. I really do not have anything new. We are currently working on our year-end financial statements, so when we get that finished, I'll be able to kind of give an overview of what we did last year. But we're well within budget right now with our expenses and our revenue. So.
Sheila, would you maybe share with the new members the period of time it takes for us to get our franchise fees from Spectrum? and why there's a delay in
Oh,
that.
with the year-end finances? We get our franchise fees a quarter late, essentially. So in March and April, we're just now getting our fourth quarter franchise fees. We cannot close our year-end books until we get all of that pulled together, the revenues from last year and everything. So once we get the franchise fees from AT&T and Spectrum, then we can start closing everything up, and then, you know, the CPA and the, you know, all of those things happen. They currently have everything. They're reviewing everything to be sure, you know, everything's in order, and hopefully we'll have those back in a couple weeks.
Excellent. Any questions for Sheila?
All good news.
No?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Okay, next on our agenda, we have subcommittees within our MVCC Board of Directors. You know, we're one large board, but we have all these subcommittees, many of them actually, and one of them is a nominations committee, and that committee met on March 23rd, and to try to help put together and organize a couple other subcommittees that we have. Therefore, the Nominations Committee is making unanimous recommendations that Don Burchett from Moraine and Bob Scott from Kettering be appointed to the Personnel Finance Committee, and that Greg Thompson from Imesburg and Lisa Duvall from Kettering be appointed to the Executive Committee. Both sets of these appointments will be for 2-year terms effective immediately. So I just wanted to make that announcement, and also thank everyone for agreeing to do that. You know, so much of this organization is done by Jay and his staff, but to make it all run effectively and smoothly, you know, we need these committees on top of your, quote, volunteerism, being council members and I'll call it distinguished people in our community that aren't on council and other roles to make this happen, to make this organization run, which we can hear from Jay today with all the positive news that is coming and what we do, whether it's TCU or the fiber optic, and there's many other things MVCC does for the city. So thank you again for doing that. Yeah.
Would you maybe want to entertain a motion for approval?
We could do that. Yeah, we could do that. Can I get a motion to approve these nominations?
I'll make a motion to approve the nomination as submitted.
Excellent.
Second.
There's your second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Yes. Congratulations. Yes. Should we make a motion for, you know, the new truck to go to TCU by our newest member? We want to hold off. We could
May
hold.
not even be out there.
Yeah, he may take it. Yeah. He's probably carrying the firearm, so yeah, we might want to. Yeah, we forgot to tell you when we welcomed you as the newest member, right?
We put a different plate on it so you take it.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, and now Jay, I believe you have some more good news.
Some more good news. I've been mentioning to you for several months now that we've been in discussions with several internet service providers who very much had an interest in the empty conduit that we had installed as part of the fiber ring. And we have reached the point now where there is a signed letter of intent that for Horizon, not Verizon, but Horizon, which is an ISP firm that primarily has a network in southeast Ohio, but they are on a steady pathward west, and it's mostly south of Interstate 70, so that's kind of their area. But anyway, Horizon wants to buy all 34 miles of our empty conduit, and we would share in the proceeds with that 50-50 with our partners on the ring, Independence Fiber Network. I would tell you that the proceeds from that will exceed $1 million. Again, MVCC would receive half of those proceeds. So it's my understanding that this will transpire over the next 45 to 60 days. So I will keep you updated on that, and again, that's very, very good news. And I'm not sure what either the short-term or long-term plan is for Horizon for the conduit, but I would think at some point in time they're going to use that to be just another internet service provider in this area. So again, that's consistent with our goal of just making the market as competitive as it can be for reliable and cost-effective internet services.
I've got a question, Jay. The amount of money, is lump sum up front, or is it paid out over a period of time?
It's lump sum.
Wow.
Yes.
And that's a one-time occurrence. Is there any other residual revenue going on if they start selling people, or just
No.
they own?
So, again, it goes back to one of the reasons why we're trying to expand the ring, because the more we can expand the ring, the more fiber infrastructure that we can put in the ground, and then we have assets that we can sell. The other thing now that we can sell, Mr. Harding, would be the excess fiber. So that is still available. But, Horizon may decide they want to sell the conduit to someone else, but we would not be a party to that. Yes, Mr. Bayless.
I assume that when this is ready to be completed, that there will be a motion that this board has to approve. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Excellent. All right. Well, it's now time for the executive director's report, and I'm not sure how you can top that latest bit of news, Jay.
Well, all I would say is that Mr. Bayless gave me an excellent segue, because coincidentally, 3 or 4 months ago, GovTech started talking about what are we going to do with the proceeds when we start selling this conduit and excess fiber. So we talked about establishing, for the lack of a better word, a technology fund, where the proceeds would go into for any type of sale of either the conduit or the fiber assets. So the manager said, Jay, will you put together a resolution that kind of outlines how that would happen and possibly how those funds could be used and how you would make expenditures from those funds. So coincidentally, I had put together a resolution, and I had it on the agenda for last Monday's GovTech meeting before we knew about this fiber sale. So that discussion was very timely. I shared with everyone a copy of this resolution where we talk about creating a technology fund for, like I say, for these proceeds, and then any disbursements of those funds would only happen through a recommendation from GovTech that would have to be then approved by the board. And we give a number of examples of things that we could spend that on. I don't know if you want me to go through those now, but I did want to share with you a copy of the draft. And if you think it makes sense to create this technology fund, then we would be prepared at our next meeting in May to present this resolution to you for further discussion.
Yeah, I've got the copy off my computer of what you sent out. Creation of technology, fund and conduit sale.
Yes.
You pretty well covered it.
Does that make sense to everybody, that we would have a separate fund so we could kind of keep track of that revenue source?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Is there, I remember seeing it, but I didn't read every word yet. So, is there any restrictions to the use of those funds beyond technology?
It right now, Joanne, it pretty much limits it to technology-related uses, but that resolution can always be tweaked and modified as the board and GovTech deem appropriate. Because you may decide somewhere down the road to use it for other things outside of the technology realm.
Yeah, but technology is a pretty broad term, so I
Right.
mean, we use so much of
Exactly.
cars with technology now,
Exactly.
so
So the managers were comfortable with the draft that I shared with you. Again, take some time between now and our next meeting, and we'll have it on the agenda. I don't think we need to pass it at our next meeting unless you folks are all comfortable doing so.
Okay. Is that all you have, Jim?
Couple of other things real quickly. Fiber to the home. You know, we have been talking with the Fiber to the Home project. It was important to us that we do this work concurrently in all the cities, that we get started and have crews working in all the cities at once. Well, we've been having these discussions with Point Broadband, and you know, it's the same issues that's you know, impacting almost every business and industry in our society. There are supply chain issues that are involved here in terms of getting you know, fiber and conduit. There are labor issues involved with staffing these boring companies and making sure you have enough boring companies, qualified boring companies, to do the work. And the biggest problem, though, has to do with the fact that there's a shortage of locators right now. Because of all the fiber work that's taking place, the companies who do location services just don't have the trained people to do that work right now. So I think the start of this program is going to be scaled back to the point that we're probably only going to start in the cities of Kettering and Centerville initially, and then pick up the other 4 cities a little later on. I've got a virtual call scheduled with the folks from Point Broadband on Monday, where they are going to share with me a timetable for doing this. So I really don't have much more information to share with you right now, but as soon as I get some more information first part of next week, I'll send that out so you can share it with your citizens. I know a lot of people are waiting for this and are excited about it. I don't think it's going to proceed at the pace that we had all hoped for to begin with, but again, I just think it's the nature of the world that we're living in right now, and especially in this fiber business where there's so much work taking place right now that it's just very hard to secure the necessary resources to get these projects done in a timely manner. I know that they're still doing some work down in Springboro, and I think if you ask the people from Point Broadband, they thought they would have that work wrapped up by the end of last year, and I know they're still working there. So, you know, those are some of the obstacles that all these companies are facing right now.
Yeah, they've got some of them. Some of the neighborhoods are lit already, and then I think, like even my neighborhood, I think they're hoping by June, and that obviously the weather didn't really help out too much, and now still having to go back and repair, but locators are very important.
Yeah.
We found a couple of gas lines hit, some things in that one. It's about 6 foot off. So yeah, locating's important.
Okay. The next topic, I mentioned to you in the information we sent out as part of your packet, we're going to have an open house here in 2 weeks on Wednesday, May 4th, from 6 to 8 p.m. So obviously for all of you, if you have some time that day, please stop by, and would love to see you. But for the general public out there who may pass by this building at one time or another, or drive by here every day and said, wonder what those people in there do. Well, this is going to be your opportunity to come in here and see what we do. Our production staff has put in a lot of time and effort on this, and I hope we have a good turnout for this. Bob mentioned as part of his presentation, we're going to have the TCSU evidence trailer here. We're going to have our production truck here, and hopefully we'll have a couple of food trucks as well for people who do stop by. The other thing I would say is that we're always searching for volunteers and people who are willing to learn how to use our equipment, our camera equipment, programming equipment, and who might be interested in making their own shows. So we're hoping that out of this open house that we have some people come through here, see some of the equipment we have here, and get interested in hopefully becoming a volunteer. So again, I would very much encourage you, if you do have some time on the 4th, just stop by. We're going to be here for a couple of hours, and We'll be giving tours of the building, showing people our studio and the equipment we have here. So to the best of my knowledge, this is the first open house that we've had. So again, everybody's looking forward to it, and a lot of time and effort has been spent on the planning.
What time was that again?
6 to 8.
6 to 8, okay.
Yes. This news is not necessarily bad news, but it's not the glowing news.
If
that,
it's
we've
not
been
good news, we'll
talking
move
about
on then.
previously. As you folks know, we had money in the budget to replace the 33-year-old windows in this building. We had budgeted about $100,000, and Nick Everett, our engineer, put together a very nice bid package, sent it out to a number of glass providers. We were hoping to get multiple bids, but we only got one bid, and that came in last Monday. When we opened the bid, the estimated cost was about $176,000, so about $46,000 over our budgeted amount. A couple months prior to that, we had received an informal quote from another provider, and they estimated the cost at about $185,000. So fairly confident that the $176,000 cost, even though it was significantly more than what we budgeted, is probably about what the market is right now. So we thought about, what do we do here? We talked to the glass company, and they said the cost of aluminum that they use to make the windows has gone up drastically over the past several months, with no end in sight. So again, we're seeing the same thing in construction costs and supplies. So we're trying to work with the bidder to see if we can work a deal where possibly this year we could just buy the materials and then next year pay the cost of installing the windows themselves. So we're working along those lines right now. We don't have anything finalized yet. Because of the amount of this expenditure, it has to come back to the board anyway. So we're going to continue to work this, and to the extent we can come up with something that we feel comfortable with, we will bring something back to you in May. If we're not able to work out a deal that we think is on our best interest, then probably what we'll do is just wait until next year and try and bid it again at that time. So that's kind of what we're thinking about. Anybody have any comments or suggestions or recommendations?
If we buy just the windows and the casings now, are they going to build them now and just hold on to them? Or is it just a purchase
They would have
now?
the materials, and then they would wait to put them together next year prior
okay.
to
So
installing them.
storage wouldn't be an issue then?
Yeah,
okay.
they would store the materials for us.
Okay.
Yes. So that's the direction we're headed then. And then finally, just one more item, and this comes along with collaboration and working together on things. We do an annual pavement marking bidding project where this year 13 cities participated. They give us the quantities of how much work they want to do in terms of painting lines on the street, and then MVC goes out and solicits competitive bids for that work. Again, we have 13 cities participating this year. There's only about 2 or 3 firms in this area that does that work. So Sheila does all the legwork on it, all the compilation of the bid tabs, and then sends the information out. We received 2 bids this year. That information has been furnished to the engineering departments from the participating communities. And then what the communities can do is they can look at those bids and look at which one of those providers provides them the most cost-effective way to get their streets painted, and the timing that's important for them in terms of the other street work and stuff that they have scheduled. So MVCC does not get involved in that. Each city negotiates their own contract and the timing of that and everything. So it's a very neat program. We had a meeting today of our APSO group, which is our Association of Public Service officials, and they're just tickled to death because they don't have to do this themselves. We get a much better quantity price doing it with 13 cities involved. So again, it's just another thing that goes on here behind the scenes that people don't know about, but we're trying to get the best bang for the buck on something that cities, if they don't do it every year, they do it every other year in terms of painting lines on the streets. So that was for me, that was a long-winded report today, but that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Jay? No? Okay. Well, I'll keep it brief. I just have two comments. One, I'd like to recognize again Bob Green and his comments on TCSU. Their support and assistance with all of our area, all of our police departments is wonderful. I talk to our officers all the time, and unfortunately, we don't have to use them as much as some other jurisdictions, but it's just fabulous what they do, and I know that they support our police departments, and there are so many things they do, as you can hear from his comments, that many people don't know about. So I just wanted to publicly thank him and his staff for all the work they put in behind the scenes and out there on our streets. So I want to thank them again. Thank you, Bob. And finally, I just want to congratulate Jay and his staff for the wonderful news, as we were joking around about it, but it is wonderful news about the conduit sale. That is fabulous. I read that. I called Jay. I said, is this real? Is this, because this is what we've all been, our goal. This is all what we've been shooting for, is to find some other areas of funding for MVCC, and this is obviously not just the first, but it's a big one, and it's something that can really help this organization that is set up to help all of our cities. So it's wonderful news. So thank you, Jay, and please pass it on to your staff.
I will.
Thank you. Any board comments today? Questions?
I've got one kind of
yes, Bob.
To go on top of the good news about the sale of the conduit space, how was the price arrived at? Is there like a industry standard market per mile charge, or how did that come about?
There is a standard, and what we are getting per mile is at the top end of the standard. I would just tell you that.
Well done.
Yes.
Good.
More good news. It's a theme today, that's for sure. Spring is coming. How about that? There's the good news. Anything else? No? If not, I hope to see everyone here May 18th at our next meeting, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.